My parents broke into the cabin I built alone, trashed it, then told everyone I was ungrateful. Hi, I'm Marcus, 29. And last week, I found out my entire family broke into my off-grid cabin on the 4th of July with 20 relatives, trashed the place, set part of it on fire, and only called me when the deck went up in flames. Let's rewind. I'm the youngest of 3. Grew up the so-called tough one. Translation: nobody expected much from me. My sisters got the royal treatment. Lindsay got her law degree paid in full. April had a dream wedding and a honeymoon in Santorini, all on Mom and Dad's dime. Me? I got a 2008 Ford Ranger with bald tires and a handshake. Congratulations, Marcus. Be a man. Figure it out. So I did. I got my CDL at 22. Started driving long-haul routes, saved like my life depended on it. Lived off peanut butter crackers and gas station burritos. Slept in my truck. Wore boots until the soles gave out. Every check, I put aside 40% into an account no one knew about. The rest went to rent, food, and fixing up my little dream, a place of my own. 12 years of this. While my family threw parties and posted vacation pics, I kept grinding. Then last fall, I found it, a beat-up old timber cabin in Montana, just outside Kalispell. 20 acres. Stone fireplace. A creek out back. Needed work, but I didn't care. I offered $180,000 cash. The widow selling it cried when I showed her the wire transfer. Said her husband would have liked me. Called me salt of the earth. I closed in December, middle of a blizzard. Pulled up to my own front door in the snow, boots cracking ice. Slept on the floor in a sleeping bag that first night. It was the best sleep I'd had in a decade. And I told no one. Not my parents. Not my sisters. Just my buddy Kyle, who helped me with the paperwork. He knew my family. He knew why I was keeping it quiet. Over the next few months, I fixed it up. New roof. Rewired the kitchen. Hauled out rotted decking and laid every board myself. Paid local contractors cash. Built something real. The plan was to bring my parents up in the fall, show them what I'd done. Maybe, just maybe, finally hear the words, "We're proud of you." Instead, I got a panicked call from my mom on July 4th. She was crying. "Marcus, something happened at the cabin. We were grilling, and the propane tank, there was a leak, the fire spread, and..." I cut her off. "What the hell are you doing at my cabin?" She got quiet. Then she said, like I was the crazy one, "Well, sweetie, Lindsay found the address in some mail at your apartment, and we thought it was a surprise, a family reunion. Isn't it wonderful?" She said, "Your cabin, like it had always been our cabin." They'd called a locksmith. Let themselves in. Brought 20 people. Tents, RVs, kids with sparklers, dogs, the works. Someone had set up a giant banner, "Happy Haviland Family 4th," over the driveway. They brought coolers, music, and a new propane grill. One with a busted valve. My deck caught fire. My kitchen filled with smoke. They only called after they couldn't hide it. That's when I knew. They hadn't come to celebrate me. They came to claim me. And I was done. By the time I got there, white-knuckling the wheel for 3 straight hours, blowing past every speed limit between Bozeman and Kalispell, I'd imagined every possible disaster. But nothing prepared me for the sight of my cabin. My cabin. 7 cars lined the gravel. My dad's pickup. Lindsay's Tesla. April's minivan. A freaking RV Uncle Stan had no business driving into the mountains. Coolers were tipped over in the grass. Beer cans everywhere. Tents littered the front yard like they were tailgating a football game. Smoke stains crawled up the walls around the kitchen window, which was completely blown out. The deck I'd rebuilt with my own 2 hands? Blackened. Warped. Burned through near the grill. And standing there in the middle of it all, wearing flip-flops and sipping wine like she was at a Napa tasting, was April. "Oh hey Marcus," she said, waving like I'd just shown up for my own birthday party. "Bit of a mishap earlier. But the weekend's been amazing." I didn't say a word. Just walked past her. The cabin door was wide open. Inside, my living room looked like a frat house after finals week. Empty bottles on every surface. Wet towels on my recliner. My rug, the one I saved for because I saw it in a magazine and thought, this is what grown men put in real homes, was soaked, stained, and smeared with mud. I went into the kitchen. Smoke damage everywhere. The cabinets I'd sanded and painted by hand were blistered and warped. The fridge had been unplugged. Someone needed the outlet for their Bluetooth speaker, apparently. Everything inside was spoiled. The air stank of burned meat and melted plastic. I walked back outside. "Everyone off my property," I said low and clear. "Now. You'd think I'd pulled a weapon." They stared at me like I was the problem. Like I'd ruined the family picnic by daring to show up. Mom tried first, of course. Clutching a tissue like it was a prop from community theater. "Marcus, sweetheart, let's all calm down. We didn't mean for any of this to happen. The kids were just so excited. And it's such a beautiful place. You should have told us. I didn't tell you because it's mine." Dad walked over, trying the dad voice. Calm, firm, full of fake reason. "Son, don't be dramatic. You weren't even using the place. And we are family. We just thought. You thought you could break in, throw a party, and trash everything I built." April scoffed. "It's not that bad. Insurance will cover it. You're just being emotional." And that's when I snapped. "No," I said loud enough for the whole crowd. "You're going to pack your crap, clean up your mess, and leave. Or I'll have the sheriff do it for you." Uncle Stan laughed. "Come on, kid. You're not calling the cops on your own family. Watch me." I pulled out my phone, took photos of everything, the fire damage, the blown-out window, the trash. Video of the inside. Pictures of people's faces. "You're trespassing. And I've got proof." That's when the mood changed. The kids were herded toward the cars. The music cut off. Mom finally stopped fake crying and just looked stunned. I could see it hit them. I wasn't the backup plan anymore. I was the guy who could burn it all down. The sheriff showed up just before dusk. Deputy Malone, mid-40s, flat expression, clipboard in hand. I met him at the edge of the driveway before he even stepped onto the property. "You Marcus Havlin?" "Yeah." "You the property owner?" "Got the deed in my glove box. Want to see it?" He gave me a look. "Let's start with the basics." I explained everything. How they found my address by snooping through my mail. How they hired a locksmith to break in. How they brought 20 people, trashed the place, and set part of it on fire. He kept jotting notes. Nodded a few times. Asked me to walk him through the damage. When we got to the charred deck, he let out a low whistle. "Propane fire?" "Yep." Uncle Stan brought a busted grill and didn't check the valve. Malone turned, scanned the crowd now huddled near the cars, clearly realizing this wasn't just a family spat, it was a straight-up invasion. He called it in to the fire marshal and told me quietly, "If you want to press charges for trespassing and property damage, it's your call." I didn't even blink. "I do." He nodded. "Then I'll need statements. You first." While I gave my official account, I watched my family from across the lawn. Dad pacing like he was preparing a courtroom defense. Mom whispering urgently to April, who had her arms crossed like a teenager grounded for the first time in her life. Lindsay stood apart, probably already Googling how to spin this into a Facebook apology that made her the real victim. Once Malone finished with me, he interviewed each of them. It didn't take long for their stories to start contradicting each other. April: "We thought it was a family gift." Dad: "We figured Marcus just hadn't told us yet." Lindsay: "It was supposed to be a surprise. A gesture of love." The fire marshal showed up during all this. Took one look at the deck, shook his head, and asked who'd brought the grill. Uncle Stan tried to lie, said it was already there, but the model was still sitting on the lawn with a barcode sticker from Walmart and an unopened warranty card. "Nice try, Stan." After a solid hour of interviews, Malone came back over to me. "I've advised them all to leave immediately. They're not to return without written permission. You'll want to follow up at the station to file a formal complaint, and if you're planning to sue for damages, you should talk to a lawyer. I already know who I'm calling." "Good. And Marcus?" "Yeah?" He looked at the wreckage behind me. The smoke-stained walls. The cracked window. The torn-up yard. "You're doing the right thing. Most people let stuff like this slide. That's how it keeps happening." I nodded. "Not anymore." By 9:30 p.m., the last SUV was backing down the driveway. April didn't look at me. Lindsay muttered something about toxic masculinity. Dad tried to shake my hand like we were business partners dissolving a bad deal. I just stared at him until he dropped it. Mom lingered the longest. Red-eyed. Pitiful. "I hope you can live with yourself, Marcus." I didn't say a word. Just closed the front door. The silence that followed? It was the first peaceful sound I'd heard all day. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was upset. Because the smell of smoke clung to everything. The curtains. The walls. My bed. Even after I cracked every window and tried to air the place out, the air was thick with the scent of fire and entitlement. So I curled up in the sleeper cab of my truck, parked at the edge of the property under a tree, and just sat there, watching the cabin like it might fall apart in front of me. I was cold. Exhausted. Furious. And underneath all that, something else I hadn't felt in a long time, clarity. Around midnight I called Ray, my old dispatcher turned real estate buddy. You up? Buddy, I drive a Honda Civic now. Of course I'm up. What's going on? I need a lawyer. Property damage. Trespassing. Family broke into my cabin and torched it. He didn't even ask for details. I know a guy. Big guy. Used to do divorce cases but switched to property litigation because it was less dramatic. Want his number? Text it. And he did. By sunrise, I had a consultation set with a guy named Frank Geller, gray beard, courtroom face, reportedly allergic to BS. He took my call while I was still sitting on the tailgate sipping burnt coffee from a thermos. Tell me what happened, Frank said. I laid it out. From the moment I signed for the cabin to the second they all packed up and left with their smoke-stained secrets. You have documentation? Photos, videos, police report, fire marshal report. Do you know how much damage was done? $45 for 100. I itemized it last night. Lost wages, materials, furniture, ruined food, structural repairs, labor, new locks. The works. Frank was quiet for a second. Then he said, You have a hell of a case. Then let's go. He actually chuckled. I'll draw up the paperwork. We're naming your parents and both sisters. The locksmith too, if you want. Just the ones who brought the circus. Locksmith was just doing his job. You got it. You sure you want to go nuclear? I thought about my scorched deck. The broken fridge. My mother's voice saying, You're being selfish. I'm sure. The lawsuits were filed that week. I didn't warn them. I didn't send a polite group text. I let the certified letters hit their mailboxes like cold water to the face. The first response came 2 days later, a voicemail from my dad. Son. What the hell is this? You're suing your own family? Over a party? Be reasonable. Call me back. Then Mom. Marcus, please. We just wanted to celebrate together. Don't do this. You'll ruin everything. Then April, in a tone that practically dripped with fake sweetness. Wow. Suing the people who raised you. Real classy, Marcus. Guess we know who you really are now. I didn't answer any of them. They talked over me for 29 years. They could sit in silence for once. The lawsuit hit like a freight train. Frank didn't hold back. He filed for full damages, $45,400, plus legal fees and punitive damages. My parents, April, and Lindsay were all named as co-defendants. The claim listed everything: illegal entry, destruction of private property, negligence with fire, and unauthorized use of private land. And they lost their damn minds. April started a smear campaign on social media. A post popped up 2 days after she got served. When your own brother sues you over a grill accident. Some people value money more than family. She attached a picture of the deck before the fire. Convenient. Mom called in reinforcements. Aunts. Uncles. Even Grandma, who left me a voicemail that started with, Marcus, dear, you know Jesus wouldn't sue his family. Lindsay sent a group text. Just 2 words. You're dead to us. Good. Because I had no intention of coming back to life for people who torched everything I built. The court date was set for 6 months out. But the real punishment started right away. Word spread fast in our small community. My parents had been well liked. Churchgoers. Potluck types. But the story they were telling wasn't holding up. Because here's the thing, they were idiots. They didn't realize people talk. One of the locksmith's employees? His nephew went to high school with me. The guy told everyone how my dad ordered him to pop the lock like it was his own place. That made its way back to me through no less than 3 people. And the fire marshal? He submitted an official report stating that the propane tank they brought showed visible signs of wear and active leakage. Said it was highly unlikely the incident was unavoidable. A.k.a. they were reckless. Frank loved that line. Gold, he said, grinning. That sentence alone is worth $5,000. Meanwhile, my sisters kept spiraling. Lindsay posted a selfie from the courthouse filing office with the caption, "Being sued by your brother for celebrating the 4th of July. God bless America." I printed it out and put it in the file label, Exhibits. April's husband, who had conveniently been absent for the whole invasion, was now threatening to bring in a real lawyer. I guess he thought being a mortgage broker qualified him to read legal code. Frank's response? Let him. I'll eat him alive. We started repairs in August. I took out a loan for $25,000 just to get the essentials fixed while the case played out. Insurance helped a little, but since I hadn't fully completed the final inspection paperwork yet, it didn't cover everything. It hurt. Financially. Emotionally. But every shingle replaced, every board nailed back into place, every dollar spent was fuel. They thought they could break me. But all they did was remind me why I'd built this place alone. Every inch of that cabin was mine. Earned. Paid for. Protected. And now? It was going to become their worst mistake. By September, the cracks in their defense were as deep as the ones in my fire-damaged foundation. Frank had them boxed in. He'd gathered texts, screenshots, voicemail transcripts, the fire marshal's report, locksmith testimony, and even video clips from a nosy cousin's Instagram story that showed the exact moment the propane grill flared up. You could see kids screaming, beer sloshing, someone yelling, "OSH," and then smoke. Frank paused the video in his office and tapped the screen like he was analyzing game film. "That," he said, "is what we call in court, involuntary admission of guilt." Meanwhile, my family went into full meltdown mode. Mom called me from a different number every week. Burner phones, probably borrowed from church ladies. Always the same script. "Marcus, this isn't who you are. You've always been the strong one. The quiet one. We know you don't mean to hurt anyone. Strong? Sure. Quiet? Not anymore." Lindsay tried a new angle. Emailed me a link to a YouTube sermon titled, "Forgiveness is Freedom." I replied with a PDF of the lawsuit and the quote total from the contractor rebuilding my deck. Then came the petition. I'm not kidding. A handwritten, photocopied petition circulated at church, led by Aunt Diane and signed by 15 people, none of whom were at the damn cabin. It was titled, "Encouragement for Marcus to drop the lawsuit and rejoin the family." Frank laughed for 5 straight minutes when I showed him. He said, "Are we suing a church next?" "No. Shame." At home, the repairs were coming along. The new roof was solid. We'd reinforced the beams and replaced the busted windows with triple glazed ones. The kitchen was stripped down to studs, but it gave me the chance to finally upgrade the old 80s layout. New cabinets were ordered. Counters too. I even found a local guy who did custom woodwork. I paid him extra to use reclaimed timber from the property for a real Montana finish. While they spiraled, I rebuilt. Frank filed a restraining order in late September. Mom, Dad, and April were now legally barred from setting foot on my property or contacting me directly. They were furious. April wrote a blog post titled, "When Blood Turns Cold, The Price of Greed in the Modern Family." The photo at the top? A close-up of my burned deck. No mention that she started the fire by bringing defective gear to a property she didn't own. Frank printed it and stapled it to the lawsuit packet. "I love when they give us more evidence," he said. By October, their lawyer reached out with a settlement offer. $30,000. Frank didn't even blink. Double it. Full damages. Legal fees. Pain and suffering. Or we go to court and I eat them alive on the stand. A week later they agreed. $52,000. The money hit my account that Friday morning. I was hauling a load through Oregon. Pulled over at a rest stop and just stared at the confirmation email. I'd won. And not just money. Control. Peace. A clear, unshakable line drawn in steel between me and the people who only valued what I could give, not what I built. I used the settlement money the way I used to use diesel, to keep moving forward. First thing I did, paid off the $25,000 repair loan. Then I dropped $8,000 on a security system that made Fort Knox look like an unlocked porta-potty. Cameras at every angle. Motion sensors. Automated floodlights. A keypad entry system connected directly to the sheriff's department. I even installed a "Smile for the camera" sign at the end of the driveway, just in case April got any bright ideas about reclaiming her summer vibes. Frank also helped me finalize the restraining orders. Not just protective orders, court-enforced, no-contact boundaries that barred Mom, Dad, and April from calling, visiting, emailing, or even driving past the property. For 3 years. Any violation would mean immediate arrest. I heard through Ray, who heard through Pete, who heard it from Uncle Doug, who couldn't keep his mouth shut at poker night, that the settlement wrecked them. Mom and Dad had to refinance their house at a garbage interest rate to cover the payout. April and her husband split up. Apparently he wasn't thrilled when she admitted she'd hired the locksmith and posted the Airbnb listing before ever asking me. Lindsay? She suddenly went quiet on social media. Probably embarrassed she backed the wrong horse in the family civil war of 2025. By November, my cabin looked better than ever. The new deck? Composite wood. Fireproof. The rails were custom iron, locally made. The kitchen? Commercial-grade appliances. A 6-burner gas stove. Double convection ovens. Granite counters. I even splurged on a dishwasher for the first time in my life. Call it a peace dividend. I spent Thanksgiving alone on purpose. Grilled a steak. Made roasted potatoes. Ate outside on the new deck with a wool blanket over my shoulders and a bottle of good scotch by my side. Snow was just starting to fall. The creek whispered in the background. The best part? Nobody knew where I was. Nobody could come knocking. Nobody could take a damn thing from me again. Tommy, my dispatcher, called that night. You good, man? I'm great. You know Thanksgiving's about family, right? I looked around at the quiet woods, the stars coming out above the pines. Exactly. We both laughed. Christmas came and went. No contact. No cards. Just radio silence. The closest thing to a family update was when Ray visited the cabin in January and told me Caroline, their favorite niece, had moved back in with my parents after her divorce. Apparently her old bedroom still had unicorn stickers on the walls. She was 33. I installed more motion lights. By February, the new routine was solid. I'd haul for 2 weeks, then come home to my place in the woods. Fixed things. Cooked. Built a shed with Pete from town, solid guy, ex-contractor who never once asked about my family. We'd drink cold beer after long days and watch the light change on the snow. He said something once that stuck with me. Sometimes peace isn't quiet. It's just the absence of people who treat your boundaries like suggestions. I wrote it down in a notebook I keep under the bed. Next to the receipts. Next to the photos. Next to the documents that remind me what I've earned. And who I earned it from. Spring melted in fast and loud. The snow pulled back like a blanket someone forgot they'd kicked off, revealing mossy stone and thawed trails around the creek. Birds returned. So did my peace. That deep, bone-level quiet you only get when the world stops demanding things from you. I took a full week off in March. Left the truck parked. No loads. No routes. Just mornings with black coffee on the deck, boots kicked up, watching the light creep over my 20 acres. I'd never taken real time off before, just dead hours between shifts. Now, I had something worth protecting. And I wasn't done building. Pete and I started working on a proper tool shed. Laid a concrete foundation, leveled it ourselves, built the frame over 2 weekends. Good lumber, tight seams. No shortcuts. We didn't even play music. Just the sound of work, wind, and the occasional sarcastic grunt when someone hammered their thumb. By then, the lawsuit was 5 months in the rearview. And yet, the ripple effects? Still growing. Mom and Dad had quietly left the church they'd attended for 20 years. Couldn't handle the whispers. Apparently the pastor, God bless him, read a sermon aloud about boundaries and consequences without naming names. But it landed. Ray told me Dad took a job delivering plumbing supplies. Extra money to cover the new mortgage. Said he looked tired. Like someone who finally realized the gravy train stopped running when the unpaid labor quit showing up. April had moved into a 2-bedroom rental with her kids. No more stay-at-home mom Instagram posts. Now it was GoFundMe links and tired eyes. She blamed her husband, then me, then the system. Never herself. Lindsay tried to save face. Posted a long thread about how painful it is when family fractures due to misunderstandings. I didn't respond, but a few people I went to high school with did, asking why her misunderstanding included a locksmith and a grill fire. Meanwhile, my phone stayed quiet. Until late April. A white SUV rolled up my driveway while I was staining the new deck. I recognized it instantly, April's. My security system pinged me before the tires even hit gravel. I walked up slow. Calm. She got out alone. Looked tired. Not stage tired, real tired. Messy hair. Wrinkled coat. Hands shaking slightly. Marcus, she said. I know I'm not supposed to be here. You're not. I'm not here to fight. Then leave. Just 5 minutes. Please. I didn't answer. Just stood there with the same look I gave a warehouse manager once who tried to dock my paycheck for refusing to sleep in a broken cab. She started crying. I need help. I mean real help. We're drowning. Rent's behind. The medical bills, Caleb's asthma meds doubled. I've applied everywhere. Nobody's calling back. I waited. She looked at me like I was the last bridge left unburned. Please. I'm not asking for a handout. I'm asking for a loan. I swear I'll pay you back. 20,000. Just to get ahead of it. Get off my property. Her tears stopped instantly. You'd really let your own niece and nephew suffer? You have money. You won. No. I said. I earned. Big difference. Don't do this. She hissed. Be better than this. I stepped closer, calm as stone. You broke into my home. You burned it. You laughed about it. And you blamed me. So no, April. I don't owe you a damn thing. Not money. Not empathy. Not another second. She opened her mouth to say something else, but I pulled out my phone and tapped the screen. Security feed. Sheriff's direct contact. She saw it and backed toward the car. You're going to regret this. She spat. I already regretted giving any of you access to my life. She peeled out, tires spitting gravel. The gate closed behind her with a satisfying mechanical click. Pete showed up an hour later with a fresh load of lumber. Someone leave in a hurry? Yeah. She forgot who she was talking to. We worked until sundown. And when we sat on the new deck, cold beers in hand, watching the creek wind between trees I now fully owned, Pete said, This is what winning looks like. He wasn't wrong. Summer came in like it was trying to apologize for everything winter broke. The trees were green again, thick and loud with birds. The creek was running fast and high, cold enough to numb your fingers. I built a bench by the water. Pete helped. He even carved a quote into the backrest when I wasn't looking. Peace doesn't ask for permission. We didn't talk about it. Just nodded. It was the kind of thing that didn't need discussion. By June, I had a rhythm. 2 weeks hauling freight, then a week off at the cabin. Work. Rest. Repeat. I cooked real meals now. Installed a smoker. Grew herbs and little planters on the deck like some mountain Martha Stewart. Bought books again. Not just audiobooks for the road, but real ones. Paper, pages, underlines. Life was small. Simple. Mine. And that's when Lindsay showed up. She didn't drive herself. Took a bus to Kalispell, then an Uber all the way out here. I got the motion alert while cleaning out the shed. Saw her on the security feed, standing at the gate in jeans, a backpack slung over one shoulder, looking more nervous than smug for once. I didn't open the gate. I walked down slow. She didn't speak first. Just stood there, blinking hard, like she was rehearsing a script she no longer believed in. Marcus, she finally said. I'm not here to argue. Then you can leave in peace. She sighed. Please. I need 5 minutes. I crossed my arms. I'm pregnant. That hit harder than expected. Not because I cared, but because it was a curveball. And it explained the sudden humility. Okay. She waited. I didn't move. I'm not asking for money, she said quickly. I swear. I'm keeping the baby. I'm out of work. I'm out of excuses. I've been thinking, a lot. About everything. What we did. What I did. I didn't let her off the hook. You mean breaking into my cabin? Destroying my property? Posting about me online? Calling me dead to the family? She flinched. Yes, she said. All of that. Silence. Why now? I asked. Because I'm going to be a mom, she said, voice trembling. And I don't want to raise my kid thinking what I did to you was okay. I don't want to model that. She reached into her bag and pulled out an envelope. Held it out. I didn't take it. It's not money, she said. It's a letter. Apology. Real one. Handwritten. I thought, if you ever forgave me, it wouldn't be because I demanded it. I didn't move. She lowered the envelope. Set it on the stone marker by the gate. I won't come back. I promise. I'm sorry, Marcus. I really am. She walked away. Didn't look back. I waited until she was out of sight, then sat on the ground next to the envelope. I didn't open it. Just stared at it. Because for the first time in my entire life, one of them hadn't asked for anything. No favor. No check. No grace. Just a real apology. I left the letter there until sunset. Then I took it inside. Didn't read it that night. But I didn't throw it away either. Progress. July came in with heat that stuck to your skin like syrup. Days were long, and the light lasted late enough that I started eating dinner at 9 without noticing. The cabin felt different now. Not just quieter. Settled. Like even the trees were starting to understand that this was a man's home, not a family picnic spot. I finally read Lindsay's letter. I waited until a thunderstorm rolled in, lightning cracking over the mountains, rain slamming the roof in a steady, angry rhythm. I sat on the new couch, barefoot, glass of bourbon in hand, and opened the envelope. No dramatic opening. Just her handwriting. Marcus, I don't know what it costs a person to stay quiet for as long as you did. But I'm starting to get it now. I was cruel, arrogant, and wrong. I thought your silence meant you didn't care. That you were okay with being left out. I see now that it meant you were surviving. I can't undo what I did. Or what I didn't do. But I want you to know that I'm done pretending like it didn't matter. I used to think being family meant we had access to each other's lives. But you taught me something different. Real family doesn't take. They ask? I'm sorry. Lindsay. It didn't fix everything. But it didn't have to. It wasn't a rope to pull her back into my life, it was just a page. One I could file away, not because I forgave her, but because I didn't need to carry the weight anymore. Pete and I finished the shed that week. Built it with a loft space for storage and a little side porch with 2 stools and a mini fridge. Called it the fort, half-jokingly, but it stuck. We kept our gear in there. Tools. Firewood. A backup generator. Even installed a little radio that only played classic rock and weather reports. That Friday night, we sat out there drinking cold beer, watching heat lightning flicker in the distance. You think they'll ever come back? Pete asked, not looking at me. They know better. You ever gonna let any of them in again? I took a long sip. Thought about it. Only if they knock first. That got a smile out of him. Fall is creeping in again now. Leaves starting to fade at the edges. The creek's running a little slower. Nights colder. I've started stacking wood again for winter. Stocked the pantry. Got new snow tires for the truck. Even bought a second recliner. Just in case. The other day, I got a postcard in the mail. No return address. Just a photo of a creek, my creek, and 2 words scrawled on the back in familiar handwriting. Still sorry. I didn't tell anyone. Just pinned it to the corkboard by the kitchen. Next to the repair receipts. Next to the legal filing. Next to the photo I took the first night I ever walked through my cabin door, tired, dirty, and free. The past doesn't go away. But it doesn't get to run the show anymore. This is my house. This is my life. And I've earned every inch of peace it holds. By August, everything was running smoother than my Peterbilt on a fresh oil change. I'd gotten used to the silence, not just as absence, but as proof. Proof that I didn't need their noise. Their guilt trips. Their Marcus is so difficult. Dinners. Life without them wasn't cold. It was clean. But just when I thought I'd fully disconnected, a letter arrived. Certified mail. No return address on the envelope, but I knew the handwriting. Sharp, thin strokes. My father's. I didn't open it right away. Let it sit on the table for 2 full days like it was radioactive. Walked past it every morning. Drank coffee next to it. Stared at it like it might say something without being opened. On the 3rd night I gave in. Inside was a single sheet of paper. Typewritten. My dad had always been formal, grew up on business memos and passive-aggressive emails. But this wasn't polished. It was weirdly raw. Marcus, I won't waste your time. I was wrong. About the cabin. About how I raised you. About what I thought a man was supposed to be. I treated you like you didn't need anything from me. Because I didn't know how to give it. I gave the girls help because it was easy. But you? You didn't ask. You just did. I thought I was respecting your independence. I see now I was avoiding responsibility. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't expect anything, honestly. But I wanted to say it before I got too old or too proud to try. You built something I couldn't have built. Not in my best years. I'm proud of you, Arthur. That last line? It sat there in my chest like a stone in a still lake. I folded the letter and put it in the drawer labeled Boring Armor, next to the trust docs and camera install receipts. I didn't text him. Didn't send anything back. But that night, I slept through without waking up once. Later that week, Pete and I started work on a second shed, this one purely for firewood and winter gear. While we dug the posts, I told him about the letter. He didn't say anything at first. Just passed me a level and checked the line. Then, after a while, "Guys say he was proud of you, huh?" "Yeah. About time somebody else noticed." We finished the posts. Ate sandwiches on the deck. Talked about nothing important. It was the best conversation I'd had in months. I was hauling freight through Wyoming when I got the call from Ray. "Don't freak out," he said, which is a terrible way to start any sentence. "What happened?" "You're fine. The cabin's fine. But there's a video. Making the rounds. I merged lanes inside. Please tell me it's not April trying to become a lifestyle influencer again." "Nope. Worse. Your mom. Fantastic." He sent me the link. It was a 5-minute video posted to Facebook titled, "My son took everything, a mother's story of loss." Thumbnail? My mom sitting on a floral print couch with tissues in her hand, the kind they only bring out when someone dies or gets engaged. The video had 48,000 views. Thousands of comments. Caption read, "He sued his own family. For a cabin. After everything we did for him." Ray let the silence sit. I could practically hear him grinding his teeth. "You watching it?" I wasn't. I already knew what it would be. Mom with watery eyes and trembling voice. Photos of my sisters growing up. Old Christmas videos spliced in with sad piano music. Maybe a still of my burned deck for dramatic effect. "She say anything useful?" I asked. "She said you used to be her sweet boy. That you were twisted by money. That you turned the family into strangers. Strangers don't burn down my house," I muttered. "She also said she doesn't understand why you hate her." I actually laughed. I don't hate her. I just stopped volunteering to be stepped on. Comments are brutal, by the way. Half are people calling you a monster. The other half are defending you like you're a national hero. Perfect. I've finally become the internet's favorite estranged son. Pete called an hour later. He'd seen it too. "You want me to post a response?" "No. Want me to invite her to accidentally fall in a hole while hiking near the property?" I snorted. Tempting. But no. I didn't respond. Didn't post. Didn't comment. I built my life to be lawsuit-proof, drama-proof, family-proof. Let her cry into the camera. Let her spin the story. I had receipts. I had the sheriff's report. I had peace. And peace doesn't show up for internet arguments. I muted her account. Blocked Lindsay. Already had April on mute since the financial abuser tweets stormed from January. They could scream into the void all they wanted. I had work to do. When I got home, the cabin was just as I left it. Snow melt had turned the dirt roads to thick mud, but the creek was singing. Cameras all fine. Nothing broken. Everything quiet. I grilled a steak. Poured a drink. Sat on the porch in the dark and listened to frogs start their evening concert. Let them say what they want. This place? This life? It was louder than all their lies. September rolled in like an apology. Cool mornings, sharp blue skies, golden light across the trees. The kind of peace you can't fake and no apology video can drown out. That's when the letter came from Grandma. Not a text. Not a passive-aggressive voicemail. A real letter. In cursive. The envelope was pale blue. She always used those little floral ones that smelled faintly of lavender and dust. Inside, a folded note, 3 pages long. Lined paper. Neat loops. Exactly the kind of thing she used to write when I was 10 and homesick at summer camp. "Dear Marcus, I'm not good at picking sides, and I don't plan to start now. I know your mama's hurting. I also know you were right. I've seen a lot of family fights in my life, But I've only seen one person rebuild a home with their bare hands and then watch it burn twice, once by fire, once by betrayal. I just want you to know I see you. I don't know if you remember, but when you were little, you used to tell me you wanted a house with a big porch and a pond with frogs and no neighbors who asked questions. You used to draw it with crayon and fold it like a blueprint. I kept one of those drawings. Still have it. You built it, Marcus. You built exactly what you dreamed. And you did it without asking anyone for anything. That's not selfish. That's sacred. I hope one day your mama understands that. And if she doesn't, I still do. Love. Grandma. I sat on the porch with that letter in my hands for a long time. Wind picking up through the trees. The creek gurgling over stones. A squirrel chewing something aggressively in the rafters above me. I didn't cry. But I felt something break loose inside. Something I didn't know had been coiled so tight for so long. Not pain. Validation. She remembered the frog pond. She kept the crayon drawing. Nobody else in my family had ever said they saw me, not without a request, a price tag, or a string attached. That night, I framed her letter. Hung it above the mantel. Right next to the framed deed to the property. That was the real legacy now. Not blood. Truth. October brought frost to the cabin roof and a chill to the air that let me finally break out the flannel-lined jeans I'd been saving. The trees were fire-colored now, reds, golds, that impossible bright orange that makes everything feel cinematic. And in the middle of all that beauty? A subpoena. April. She was suing me. For emotional damages. I read the opening line 3 times before I laughed out loud in the middle of my driveway. She'd filed in small claims court. Listed everything: loss of reputation, public humiliation, mental distress caused by unjust family estrangement. Said I'd destroyed her personal brand. Attached screenshots of her social media engagement dropping. Even cited the GoFundMe that got reported and pulled. Amount requested? $5,000. Pete came over that evening while I was cutting wood. I handed him the packet without saying a word. He read a few lines. Looked up. Please tell me this is a joke. Nope. She's suing you because you wouldn't let her burn your house twice? More or less. He flipped through the papers. You got a lawyer on this? I called Frank. He laughed so hard I had to put the phone down. Frank filed a countersuit the next day, for harassment, defamation, and malicious intent. Attached her entire blog series about me. Her old tweets. Her Facebook post titled, How My Brother Went Full Psycho for a Log Cabin. By the following week, she withdrew her claim. Didn't even fight it. Guess her lawyer, or her husband, or whoever she roped into helping, finally realized it wasn't worth poking the bear. Especially not one with a restraining order and a litigator who could file motions in his sleep. Ray texted me a meme that night. It was a raccoon holding a gavel. Caption: When the family clown takes you to court and forgets you built the circus. I laughed so hard I choked on my chili. Then I went outside, lit the fire pit, and watched the flames. It was the first time in months that I didn't feel like I had to be on guard. The gate was locked. The cameras were rolling. The lawsuits were over. They'd thrown everything they had. And I was still here. Unburned. Unbroken. Unbothered. This morning, I woke to frost on the windows and silence so deep, it felt like a reward. I made coffee, stepped onto the deck, and watched the creek steam in the cold. No calls. No chaos. No noise. I built this place alone. Paid for it with calloused hands and quiet sacrifice. They tried to claim it. Burn it. Break it. They failed. The lawsuits are done. The locks hold. The peace is mine. Not borrowed. Not gifted. Owned. I get asked sometimes, by people who hear the story secondhand, if I regret cutting them off. No. I regret waiting so long to realize I could. This cabin isn't revenge. It's proof that I was never the failure. I was the foundation. And they only noticed when I stopped letting them stand on me.